I'm on. Evening. Right. I'll let you sit down, Councillor Stevens, and catch your breath. Okay, so a bit of housekeeping first, and I've just silenced my phone. So if you can just put your phones on silent for me, please, that'd be lovely. So remote participants, it's the usual announcement. Keep your microphone off unless you wish to speak, and please indicate, and I'll try and keep my eyes on the screen. I know there's a couple of you dialed in. This meeting will be recorded and staff may use body-worn cameras within the premises. Data captured during these recordings will be processed and retained in accordance with the Council's data retention policy, and the meeting recording may be published on the Council's website. Members accessing the meeting remotely should use their SBC or KCC laptop to participate virtually. If you join using the link on the website or on a mobile or a tablet device, it is not possible to identify you and you will not be recorded as in remote attendance. So, welcome everyone to tonight. It's not an extraordinary meeting, is it? No, it's just a normal meeting tonight. And welcome to the visiting members who are online and anyone, I don't think there's any others other than the committee tonight and their substitutes. We have the following people in attendance tonight. We have Head of Place, Joanne Johnson, who's sat to my left here. We have the Buildings and Operation and Maintenance Manager, Debbie Hardy. And we also have Interim Property Services Consultant, David Johnson. I think, is he online? He will be online. And Democratic Services, we have Philippa Richardson here. There's no fire drill tonight, so if the alarm sounds, it's real, and all of you in attendance should leave via the exits and assemble outside where directed. Do not use the lift, and we know who needs assistance, so that's fine. Are there any apologies for absence, please, Philippa?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies have been received from Councillor Hayden Braun, who is substituted by Councillor Ashley Shield, from Councillor Ashley Wise, who is substituted by Councillor Mark Last, from Councillor Simon Clark, who is attending online, and from Councillor Shirley Cheeseman. Thank you.
Right. Not here. Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Palmer.
Just for clarity,
Yeah.
on the agenda or the attendance sheet on the agenda, it says a vacancy,
Yeah.
which is being filled tonight for Councillor Chris Palmer.
Oh, yes. Apologies. Right. Thank you. So Chris will be noted in attendance. Okay, members, we need to approve the minutes of the extraordinary meeting on the 14th of January. That's minute numbers 601 to 607. And also the minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of January, minute numbers 674 to 685 as the correct records. Do you all agree? Yeah. Any dissenters? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any declarations of interest tonight?
Yep.
Councillor Palmer.
Just for
Richard
clarity,
Palmer.
on agenda item 8, I work for a first aid company or a training company which does provide first aid training. The report is for noting and is about the security there, but as it mentions first aid and other related things, I thought it was better to make that known. But I don't think it affects the I've been present in the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chris Palmer.
Yeah, I work for the same company.
Same declaration. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, matters arising. I'm not going to mention a huge number of things tonight. The Environment Committee sub-working group that are looking at Barton's Point have met. There's a bit more to it. I'm reliably informed by Dolly, and she's online tonight, so you can correct me, you can come in if you like. About your working group and where you've got to. Do you want to give us a little update, just a 1 minute run through?
Yeah, absolutely. So working group Barton's Point has met. There was a number of issues to discuss, including a drainage issue, which obviously those issues are not really to do with the items that your committee was particularly interested in. We have made further progress with some really interesting ideas, and I think we've had one. I gave an update for the Environment Committee. If anybody would like Chair's update when those meeting notes are published, feel free. But the one interesting element for you guys was that as the Chair and working group officers, we have now had a meeting with Kieran in the Economies team to look at what is possible in terms of the concession contract and maybe a possibility of other contracts that may be able to be offered at Barton's Point to support the overall goal of perhaps looking at a green flag award for the park and to really cement its changing identity from perhaps something that was going to generate a larger amount of revenue to cementing its coastal park option, along with hopefully something that the local community can really benefit from in terms of education around the ecology report and the positive aspects that report bring. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And quick one, Dolly, in terms of timeline, because obviously we can only look at reports and make decisions based on the reports. When are you likely to come to us with something that will require some kind of decision and have an updated report? Do you think that'll be the next meeting?
So we've got a officer and chair pre-meet on Wednesday. We then have a meeting in.
You've cut out. Sorry, Dolly. We've lost you. Right. Okay. Well, we'll get you to update us later on. Thanks very much. Right. There's a good bit of news. We previously approved putting solar panels on the building. And Debbie here is nodding because she sent me an update today, but perhaps you'd like to say 2 words about the solar panels and where we are.
Thank you, Chair. So the installation has been completed. We've got some admin bits with the meters and the MPAN numbers, etc., to do here, but the installation is in.
Excellent. And when do we think it'll be up and running? Is it up and running now?
It's up and running, but we haven't got any figures
Yet.
for the meters, but
Okay.
it is up and running and producing.
Okay,
for us.
fine, good. I think it'd be quite interesting for the committee. Probably like to see what the numbers are doing and our expectations. So maybe we just have a little note, maybe sent round just to the committee members. So, thank you. Right. So, matters arising. Isn't there anything else that we need to? I mean, I've covered matters arising and chairman's briefing all in one there. I've rolled it all in. That's my executive decision on that. Right, let's go forward. Items for noting on the forward decisions plan. So have a copy of the forward decisions plan. We've got some other items to add to it. I think I mentioned the last meeting, which was an extraordinary meeting about section 106 and bringing an item forward so we could look at some of the some aspects of the section 106 that could have an impact on our sort of town centres and regeneration. And I'm thinking, I've got in mind things like buses, etc., where we've got pots of money all over the borough and whether we could have a better idea of how those could be coordinated. So that will come up. We've also got Queenborough Town Hall asset transfer due to come back to committee. Do you want to say something, Joanne? Sorry, put you on the spot there.
Thank you, Chair. No problem. Members agreed in April last year, 2025, to asset transfer Queenborough Guildhall and 44 High Street to the Town Council. We put a time expiry on that of a year. It's ready to complete imminently, but it won't be within that year. So we will come back and just ask members to extend that for a further grace period so that can happen. Thank you.
And what time frame do we think that will happen? Do we?
From having spoken to Kieran today, I think we're looking at a matter of months. Maybe 3 to 6 months would be reasonable so that we don't come back again if it's tipping over by a short term. But it's imminent from both parties' perspectives.
Okay.
Thanks.
And the other item to add on to this forward decisions plan is the Newington Village Hall car park and associated land. And do we think that'd be the next meeting?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, next meeting. Right, lovely. Members, anyone want to comment on that? No? Oh, okay, fine. Right, decisions for the committee tonight. So we've got item 8, which is Swell House Security and Safety. We have a paper here. Let's find the right one. So I think it's over to you, Debbie. Is it? Oh, no. Oh, Joanne, sorry. Apologies.
No problem. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. You've got me for this one, but Debbie may very well be helping answering any questions. So the genesis of this paper was back in October last year when we discussed the voluntary and community sector lettings policy, and we were talking about if that should be applicable to Swell House. And what came up in conversation then was concerns that some of the antisocial behaviour that had been experienced in the Undercroft might be to the detriment of letting the property going forward. So we were asked to produce this paper. It was initially due to come to committee in January. You'll then be well aware of the incident at full council in December last year, so we agreed that we would postpone that paper so that it could also look at the operation of public meetings that are held inside of Swell House. So the report that you have before you today does that. It's broken down really into 4 sections. So it looks at the physical security measures relating to the building, both inside and outside. It looks at the measures that are in place for staff, and for staff we can read building users, so that's staff, members, visitors, tenants, any people that use the building. And then there's a specific section added to the end around public meetings, the changes that have happened in response to the incident at full council, and then some of the actions that are still under consideration. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, members, I'll open it up. Who wants to speak on this paper? Councillor last, and then I've got Councillor Richard Palmer.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, officers have put a lot of effort into this report. I just want clarification under 2.6, and I may want to come back once I've had a response. About the walkway that's locked over the night, what does that talk about?
So that's the walkway from the side car park at Forsters that goes through in the Undercroft, like where the mayor's car is, between 2 spaces.
Okay.
We lock that over night time.
Can I just come back then? My concern is really securing the Undercroft. Surely we should be looking at putting some form of fencing up. I mean, I came in that way tonight. We've got a rough sleeper down there. We've got kids on bikes. I don't think just locking the walkway will stop that happening, because as members have said to me tonight, when that's locked, they walked around and come over the fence. It defeats the object. I think we do need to think about a bit of investment about that Undercroft for security, not just of staff, but of members. And also, if there was ever a fire or somebody wants to burn the place down because they've had enough of it, it's easily accessible. So I think some consideration needs to be put in trying to secure the whole of the Undercroft, so it's only accessed during work hours or when we've got meetings.
Thank you. Do the officers want to come back on any of those points?
Yep, happy to, thank you. The paper sets out there's some options that remain under consideration for the chamber and for the building more generally. Temporary terrace fencing has been considered. A more permanent solution is also being considered. There are associated costs and considerations with that. So there is how personnel would get through that, where you would put the fob points, how deliveries would be managed, because you would be stopping off the car park as well if you're getting a secure perimeter all the way across. So how would we have deliveries during the day? Who would answer the intercom when deliveries are there buzzing? So there's all those kind of things that would need to be factored in. I've had comments around reputational concerns about problem shunting, which we would also need to factor in. But absolutely all those different solutions, from the sublime to the ridiculous, are certainly enabled by this report. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Last, did you want to comment any further?
I would only going to say that the access to the area could be open during the day and locked at night. It doesn't necessarily need a fobbing-based systems. It's just to be secure when the building is empty.
Okay, thank you. Oh, next I've got Councillor Richard Palmer, and then I've got Councillor Mark Tucker.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with the layout or anything. It's just 2.13 where it says visitor access. I think perhaps we should, and it might be just the way it's phrased, but make it explicit that the visitor access is via the main entrance at the front of the building, and no visitors should be permitted through the rear entrance. I accept deliveries will be brought that way, but that would be by agreed arrangement. But certainly casual visitors shouldn't be there. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two questions, if that's
Yeah.
okay. The first one is in regards to the 3-year contract. Is it written in if we're not here in 3 years, that do we still have to honour the contract, or do they get
Oh,
as soon as we know then?
are you talking about security?
Yes.
Ah, that's the next item. We've got two items. One, Swell House, generally
sorry.
about
Too
its
early on.
building.
Sorry,
Yeah,
apologies.
it's all right. You can hang fire on that
The next
one.
question on this one was,
Yeah.
in regards to the security of the back gate that we've just come in today, there's
Yeah.
a homeless person right
Yeah.
next to the door. So what's the security and thoughts on that someone's just allowed to sleep right next to the entrance that we come in now?
Yep.
Thank you. So yeah, we are aware of the gentleman who was there. He arrived this week. So the Rough Sleeping team have spoken to him on outreach this morning, and are looking at options for him. He is therefore a service user, one of SBC's customers or clients. As you all know from the experiences we had last year, it's not as simple as moving people on. We don't have the powers to do that straight away, and we prefer to work with people to find solutions that work for them as well. Last year, we brought together a cross-departmental sort of multidisciplinary team to look at the issues that were being experienced. I know colleagues have stood that up again, ready for this year to prepare for any sort of peaks in activity that may come as the weather improves over the summer months. So yeah, we are aware of the gentleman that is there, and we are engaging with him as best we can at the moment.
Thank you.
But when I say we, that's not my team, that's another team, so I'm not taking any credit for that. I'm just reporting what colleagues have been doing. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Stephen.
I just really want to mention about people coming in on their own. Obviously, in my mayoral years, I was in and out the building on my own, coming up 3 flights of stairs because obviously no lifts, with extremely valuable chain, etc. I also get concerned about the radio station because some of the DJs come in the evenings and they are female. So has that been taken into consideration about coming in and out on our own? Because do we have to change routines? I don't know what the mayoral team are doing now. So, but it was very worrying. I used to, especially when the front door jammed and I had to go through the back, and I'm carrying the case round, then or vice versa, and passing lots of people. You know, it's a very lonely building at weekend when you're on your own.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Stephen.
Thank you. There should always be a risk assessment for people that loan work, and that's whether they loan work outside of the building or potentially inside the building, and that would put measures in place. The issues that we had in the Undercroft last year is an example of when we would dynamically review that risk assessment. So we review them every 2 or 3 years as a matter of course, but if something happens that changes circumstances, we revisit them. So at the peak of the activity last year, we advised staff to arrive and to leave in pairs. That was felt to be a suitable measure. We have the CCTV, which is monitored during the day by the facilities officers' staff. Then out of hours, it switches. Is it all the Undercroft one?
Yes.
The outside ones then switch to the CCTV control room outside of hours. So there is always that that eye on things. But yeah, there would always be a lone worker risk assessment, or there should always be a lone worker risk assessment for people that are on their own. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Kavanagh and then I've got Councillor Thompson.
I'm mindful that the weather is getting warmer. We all know what it was like last year. Following from what Councillor Stephen said, we tend to turn up on our own. I certainly do, as a pedestrian. I was a bit concerned tonight that there was a tent, presumably occupied, right next to the door. Now, this gentleman might be lovely. I don't know. Certainly in the past, I've been followed, or kids have run behind me asking if I'm working here, trying to get in the door. This is not something we should be going through again. And if you remember, someone was stabbed out there. Now, okay, it was an argument between two people that knew each other, but if one of us goes down there and sees some aggressive incident, you might feel obliged to get involved. We cannot have this repeating again. It just seemed to have been ignored, and I can't see why anyone would want to hire rooms here having to go through that. We've got to have something better this year, not it just ignored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to come back, or shall I take the next?
Was there a particular question you'd like me to respond to, or was it comments to note?
It was more like, how are you going to make sure, not you personally, how is Swale going to make sure this isn't repeated?
Yep.
Thank you.
So there's a few observations in the report that may help. So we are working more closely with the police this year. There is a new town centre team that's been set up. I think that's 7 strong, and we've been speaking with them to try and prevent issues from happening. Obviously, an issue is live, it's not going to be foolproof. Things like working with local off licences around who they provide alcohol to, enforcement of the public space protection order, which limits where people are allowed to drink in public, and actions like that. So we have tightened work with the police following the experience of last year. Once the cross-departmental team internally is up and running, there's a lot of experience to draw on from last year. It was new for all of us. We were looking at what powers we could use and what powers it was appropriate to use. So hopefully this year it will be a slicker operation due to experience and the support of the police. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Question just noted without listening to Councillor Last, listening to people coming in on their own. I'd feel that you'd only make that space or reject the type of behaviour that's been happening by having it sealed up in some way. You could still see through it. Has there been an assessment of that cost? So I imagine we'd have to have gates at the bottom with a pedestrian gate as well as the vehicle gates. There is enough space for a vehicle to pull in and then be let in. And then I imagine we could override it, so we haven't got to keep fobbing it all day. It's only, as you say, when you're in the evening, and then at least you know that once you go in, there isn't anyone in there. Whereas I can imagine, as a woman on your own, the thought that you're going in, is there someone in there? Whereas, you know, if you're fobbing yourself in, you're okay, even if there's someone outside.
Yeah.
And it means you can footpath your way in. I just wondered if we've done an assessment of that cost, even if it's sort of, you know, green fencing or something, metal and then gates.
No, we haven't. We've costed up Harris fencing, which is the temporary style that wouldn't have any kind of fob access and wouldn't secure the entranceways or the exitways, but the permanent solution we haven't. Just in terms of a couple of people have mentioned about you could have it open during the daytime. I think a lot of the people have arrived during the daytime. It's not the people are coming here when we're not here and settling themselves down. I think this gentleman arrived during the daytime. Yeah. So it would have to be, I think, a 24/7 solution in order to work. Otherwise, you've then got somebody inside your fenced perimeter. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, yeah, sure.
I've forgotten what I was going to come back with now, but it was just the fact that I think that if it is enclosed, as you said, if it's 24-hour, that could be assessed. It's easily made 24-hour or not. Then we can realise whether we can, you know, seal it up because they won't be there. So it's just that confidence in that, I think. Yeah, I don't know what the cost would be then.
Okay, before we go any further, I'm going to propose the recommendation that's on here, and if I can get a seconder, and then I'll speak after that. So Councillor Richard Palmer is seconding that. Thank you. So to come in, obviously I've raised a number of issues about this over various meetings about this building. I'm acutely aware of personal safety, having been horribly mugged in London some years ago. And I have to say, I don't feel safe walking around in the Undercroft late at night. Quite often we come out of here at late at night in the meetings. One thing I wanted to understand is what's the crossover between the house superintendent and security? Because sometimes I feel we're leaning on our house super to be security. But if that is part of their role, that's fine. But I just wanted to understand the split between the two.
The security is not in part of the facilities officer's role. It's the security of the building, but not of personnel.
Okay. Because I think what we've had over the last year, in the instances where we've had various homeless people and then that horrible incident where there was the stabbing, and, you know, I was coming out the public inquiry on a Friday afternoon where everyone else has cleared out the building. Quite often it was just me and the inspector, and it was quite threatening. I should also say that my car was written off when a van backed into my car. And it is a bit of an old banger, hence why it was written off. But part of the reason I think he was, he didn't see my car was because he was looking at what was going on with homeless tents down there. So it's distracting for drivers apart from anything. And you end up then with other effects and, you know, that weren't intended. I found it really intimidating. The planning inspector, I have to say, she was like me, was really concerned about what was going on down there. I've worked in quite a few different offices over the years, and where there's been either undercroft parking or underground parking, it's all closed off. And I can think of the cases in the city where they actually have shutter doors, and your only way in, as you say, is through a pass access. So they know exactly who's in the building. And it is part of our demise. We are responsible for it. The other thing to know is that presumably all our tenants only go through the front door. That's correct, isn't it?
No, they've got access through the rear door, sorry.
They got access through the rear door.
Yeah.
So this does impact our tenants. It's not just us as council officers, staff and visitors. It is our tenants as well. And I do think we owe them an obligation around security. And I have every sympathy for what Councillor Stevens said and her experiences, and Councillor Kavanagh. I do think the recommendation, maybe if we amend the proposal, is that we should seriously look at some sort of permanent security in the basement. Now, I know it costs money, but this is a commercial building, and we all agreed as a committee that this is a commercial building and should be let on commercial terms, and therefore you provide the services that go with it, which includes obviously security arrangements. I'm concerned about Heras fencing because I've had a bad experience with that. And when you remember all the Spirit Sittingbourne works around Sittingbourne and up near the train station, and Heras fencing was put in, and it ended up corralling people, and it wasn't safe. You end up, it's not secure enough. It's not a proper secure pass system. And then if you're trapped in it with someone you don't want to be, you can't get out easily. So I'd have to say I've some caution around a temporary measure of Heras fencing for those reasons. And apart from anything, it looks awful. I think if we're going to go down the whole hog of securing the basement area, then we need to do it, you know, in one hit, put the fencing up and then have the gated system, if that's what it is, or roller shutter doors. Right, I'll let the others come in now. So, Councillor Stephen and Councillor Thompson.
Can I just add about, and I know this is probably not preventable, but it's something we have to be mindful of. You see it in train stations where people tailgate to get through barriers, etc. There's a delay when we come in and the door closing, and that was one of the things that used to freak me out, and making sure that I was actually locked once. I was thinking, was someone going to just leap in here? And
I suppose the solution for that might be making the hinges more reactive and quicker closing, but without being snapped shut that you can't get through the door if you have a disability.
Yeah, exactly. got to get a happy medium, but it is a concern. I mean, I was very aware. I did look everywhere before I did anything, before I even got out my car. But it is really quite
disconcerting. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Only just an experience thing that might be useful. We've just fitted automated security gate system for one of our public projects because of security. So we've got safe closure and that sort of thing. But the whole thing saved the fob, and it works in conjunction with an alarm. So once it's sealed, it then informs me if someone's in there. And it goes back to the people who had their bikes stolen recently from the compound. I think the only way we're going to know that someone's entered is once that's closed, the side gate and the gates close, it then tells you that that should be a secure space. It's very cheap. Ours was £3,800 for an automated gate system with cameras, and it works just through my phone. So I see someone come, I can then shut the gate or open the gate, depending what I want to do via my phone. So we don't even have to have fobs anymore. We can all just have it and ping it open on our phone. Yeah, it would be probably more the cost of the mechanical fencing, if you like, and gates. But I think it's a doable thing, but it'd be good to know what that cost might be. Oh, and yeah, as I mentioned, it would then prevent theft of items that might be down there. So.
Yeah, and that was a question I was going to ask, because we've got the CCTV, it's monitored during the day, and then obviously we had those bike thefts. I think it was at night, wasn't it? Out of the secure bike storage, and that's supposed to be monitored. How did that happen?
They're not monitored the whole time, but they've gone back and they've seen and they've reported it, and with the police, we're waiting for the police crime number, and then they have to ask for the CCTV footage to be sent to them.
Okay, I think that answers that. Councillor Marchington and then Councillor Richard Palmer.
I do apologise. Censored floodlighting is very, very much of a deterrent, and it's much cheaper to start you off in an expensive game again, especially if it's more than one light. One comes in, if they move through an area, suddenly another one comes on, and they get the impression they're being watched badly, and it does deter a lot. I've had lots of sites to protect over the years, you know. Thank you.
Yes, Joanne. Sorry, Councillor Clark, I'll bring you in next, but I'll let Joanne answer this one. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one of the things that we did do last year was leave the floodlighting on in the Undercroft permanently, to, I suppose, to disturb people's peace, to make it hard to sleep and relax there. And something else that we did was to cut the public Wi-Fi. So our public Wi-Fi extended beyond the boundaries of the building, and you could access it in the Undercroft, but we changed that to need a password to access, so that people that were congregating there couldn't benefit from Wi-Fi, which may have been a draw to the area.
Okay, Councillor Marchington, you happy with that? Yes. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Clark, sorry, I should have brought you in earlier.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm totally with you on the use of this Harris fencing. It's not pretty. It can be easily removed should some individual or individuals decide that they want to access the Undercroft. So for sense of purpose, I think if we're going down the route of securing the Undercroft, then it would need to be properly done with permanent secure fencing. I'll pick up on Councillor Thompson's point with having pass access. Some people, be they members or if they're members of staff, either don't like to or can't park in the Undercroft, so there would have to be some sort of gated access from the main exterior car park into the Undercroft, which would be made available at specific times, especially when obviously during the day, and then in the excuse me, in the evening when meetings were taking place. So that would need to be factored in. If there was a roller shutter at the front, as also Councillor Thompson says, there is space for a car to pull off there. whilst the shutter is lifted or the gates are opened, whichever way goes on. And I take slightly a more, with the, like this, I didn't know the chap was under there by the back door, but looking at what happened last year, I mean, I've spoken to other members about this, and a few of us have taken a more simplistic view, maybe not legal, but simplistic. You basically escort them off the premises and confiscate their tents. Then they're not under there anymore. And if it was secure, that would be the way to go if actually someone got in there. So just a couple of points there to mull over, Chair. Thank you.
Do you want to speak about that? That's out of your comfort zone, is it? That's to the housing team. Okay. Right, Councillor Palmer. Sorry.
Yeah, I think there's some very good points. I think what we've got to take from this is there's been very good suggestions, but it's going to be a cost. And until we really know the cost, and we've got to be careful, we can spend, and I appreciate it's easy to say when, I know Chris gets worried out there and I know other people do. And but we've got to look at the costs. And even I like the idea of the automatic gates, but then if they open slowly, yes, there might be room for one car, but you might finish up with queuing back onto the road, so you'd need to move the gates up. So I think the report as it is great, and perhaps we should note it, but we need to come back with more costs and figures and what's going on. And I appreciate what Councillor Clark says, but I think the council has to operate within the law as it is, and that sometimes ties our hands. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Shield.
Thank you. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, because I will leave tonight via the front door and then walk to the station and then walk home. I don't know how many people I'm going to pass, and I don't know who they are or what their backgrounds are. It's that personal safety. We've got a really, really good CCTV control room just down the road, and they are fantastic, and I always sing their praises. If members or staff or whoever's in the building are feeling like they're coming in on their own and they don't feel safe, is there that option to call through to the control room team and say, I'm just accessing the site, because then they know someone's coming in, they can track them on the camera, and somebody's there talking to them, and they are literally just down the road and can access the cameras and an emergency response should it be needed. I think gates and fences are lovely ideas at massive costs, and all you're going to do is put that rough sleeper the other side of the gate, because you're not going to be able to gate right down to the road. So they will just sleep this side of the gate, still under the Undercroft drive up, because it's still dry and still out of the way. So all you're doing is pushing the problem slightly further. And we need to be preventative, not reactive, really. We shouldn't have rough sleepers at all. And we shouldn't need gates and fences to keep them out. They should be in homes. And I think kicking them out is a little bit not very nice, to be fair.
Thank you. Do you want to mention anything in there?
So when we have particular hotspots or particularly significant meetings, we would ask the facilities officers to keep a fairly constant eye on the CCTV on the outside of the building. So absolutely we can do that. In terms of what the wider CCTV control room could do, I'm not sure. I'm happy to explore with them what kind of solutions they could bring to the table for different security measures for the Undercroft. Absolutely. Thank you.
I just think why reinvent the wheel when we've got
Mike, put your mic.
Why reinvent the wheel when we've got a fabulous team just down the road, and they are really good. And even if we've got, sorry, coming back in there, Chair, even if we've got tenants downstairs and like Councillor has said, the volunteers for the radio show, if they are feeling vulnerable, could we not provide them with a Swell Link radio? Again, they've got that to come backwards and forwards to, and it is linked to control room. I think we've already got a service there which is solid and strong and very robust. Why not use it?
I just think from a practical point of view that our CCTV staff are probably actually quite busy monitoring the screens and they're not on site. So why I asked about the house supers is because quite often they've been very good in standing guard whilst if we're a lone female, it's very late at night and there's people milling around to see us out, but that's not their job. And I think we need to recognise that that is what they're doing and either make it part of their spec or we should be, and it will come on to the next item, including that as part of the security arrangements. Now, I believe that most of the time we've only got one security guard and they can only be on the front door, whereas most of people, including our tenants, come in and out the back door, so members and staff. So we're either going to have to double up on our staff or come to some other arrangement.
And need to cover weekends.
So, Councillor Last.
Just a couple of things, really. We seem to see CCTV as a be-all and end-all, but when somebody's coming to do something illegal, how often are they wearing balaclavas, wearing dark clothes? What happened here in the council chamber?
Yeah.
We couldn't identify the people there because of what they were wearing. So is CCTV the answer, is first thing. And secondly, it's partly hate to ask this, but can't we task officers to go away and write a report on the options, whatever type of fencing, whatever type of system, and come back to the committee with a number of options and then let the committee decide what's the best way forward?
Is that a proposal?
Yes, but I am a sub.
Sub or not, doesn't matter. You can still propose an amendment. So the amendment would be to for officers to go away, look at some options.
Sort of securing the undercroft of this building.
Yeah. And including any possible cost implications.
Yeah. I think once you've got some options on the table, you may end up choosing something middle ground because of cost.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't prohibit what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. So that's the proposal, is for officers to take away, come up with some options, bring it back to committee, a report with options to secure the undercroft and the footprint of the building of our ownership. Right, I'm happy to second that. So if I second it, right, you can debate it, right, go to the debate on the amendment.
It was only that, as people were pointing out, it would be interesting to look at the cost of human intervention support, as you were mentioning about another officer. What would be the cost?
Yeah.
What there is, again, there's a really good app systems that you can do with security that it's so easy. It's not even complex, that you just press the button. It'll then you will alert them that you're coming in. If that's the case, they can then be at the door, if that's the case. So I'm just thinking that might be a balanced cost against if we fence and gate. What we do have goes back to the theft item and other things that we can, obfuscate, I can't even say the word, with actual physical measure. But I think permanent measure is the answer, not temporary measure, because as you say, they'll still climb over. So I think, it'd be great to get some options. So,
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've forgotten part of what I was going to say, but I have to agree with Councillor Last and the motion that we should get some firm options on the table. So I'll leave it at that, Chair. I can't think what else I was going to bring up.
Okay, stick it in the chat if you remember, or put your hand up again if we're still going on this item. Right, okay. There was the other thing was when we talk about people coming into the building, mandatory ID checks, and it says review ongoing. What does that mean? 2.29 So we've got three options: moving all meetings online. Obviously, we can't do that because we can't make decisions. Screen between the public gallery and the chamber. That's a review's ongoing, but there was also mandatory IG checks because I think we had Mickey Mouse checking in on one occasion, and we don't want to repeat that.
Thank you. Yes, so to clarify, as you've identified, the facilities officers have no jurisdiction to challenge people. They ask someone to sign in. They cannot let them into the building until they sign in. But if they sign in as Michael Mouse, they have no authority to challenge that and to say, right, prove it, produce some ID. There are all sorts of issues around asking people to produce ID to come into the building. It's a public gallery, so we're looking into the kind of legitimacy and desirability of that. So two angles to it. One, can we, if Mrs. Miggins arrives and she's travelled a long way to get here because she wants to listen to a particular planning application, can we turn her away because she can't prove who she is? Do we want to turn her away? But it's absolutely from the heart of that problem that lots of people who signed in on that date clearly, well, almost certainly weren't born with the name they signed in with.
Okay. Right, yes. I mean, I think that is a problem, but I think when you go to Parliament, you have to go through really strict. If you go to the public gallery, and that's a similar sort of issue, I'd have thought, because it's a public gallery. Oh, look, the hands are shooting up now. Councillor Kavanagh, Councillor Last.
On the other side, Joanne, through the chair, I wouldn't go to the meeting in January because I didn't think I was safe. And there weren't a lot of people here. The priority ought to be us being safe. We had people from Operation Forward talking about all that. We were fed to the wolves. And I appreciate it might be difficult about ID check, but I would far rather know that if something happens again, and it will, at least we know who's been in the building. You know, I mean, if to vote you have to prove who you are, why on earth can't you come in here? Our safety should be paramount.
Thank you. Councillor Last.
I was just going to say it's obviously a problem as it's a public building, but can't we insist or request that no face coverings are worn?
Yeah.
If people come into the building wearing face coverings, they are ejected because they've been specifically asked not to wear face coverings.
Yeah, I mean, that I would say that's fairly standard practice because in London, you know, you think how many buildings where you're not allowed to wear a crash helmet, you have to take it off so that they can see you. I don't know. Right, come in, Joanne.
Yeah, thank you. We have introduced that as a measure, so people are allowed to wear a face mask, one of the sort of the health ones.
Yeah,
but no other face coverings are permitted for people coming in to the gallery.
Councillor Clark, did you remember?
I did remember, Chair. But firstly, I'll comment. I was in Parliament recently, and as you say, it is quite a stringent process to get in there, and I don't suggest we follow that at Swale House. But you do have to go through several security checks through an airport-style scanner. You have to have your bags checked, and you have to have identification. But what I forgot before. I understand where Councillor Thompson's coming from. Most of us, and I stress the word most, probably do have smartphones. So you could have an app on your smartphone for accessing doors and barriers, etc. But I do advocate caution there because not everyone has a smartphone. Some people still just prefer a simple phone that they can make phone calls from and send text messages without all the social media and internet connectivity of smartphones. So whatever option we go for, you have got to be cautious about accessing gateways and doorways. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Totally get that, Simon. Just to help, all those systems all have a parallel fob or remote if you want to, so it's fine.
Yeah, good. Yes, I think, and also I know with gates, compared to things like domestic gates, when it becomes a public a gate where you've got the public, members of the public, it's a whole other health and safety in terms of risks, and how the mechanisms work, so people don't get trapped in them or drive and get stuck on them, is the other one. So, okay, right. So, members, the amendment is for officers to come back with options to secure the Undercroft area of Swale House and the footprint of Swale House. All those. Does anyone want to speak to it anymore? Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry, Councillor
Sorry, just
Tucker.
very quickly, what's the timeline that the officers need to come back?
Well, we can bring it back to the next meeting.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
We don't want to dawdle on this because it's a live issue. Okay. Right. Anyone else? Last call. Right. Okay. All those members in favour of the amendment? Okay. That's unanimous. Right. Back to the substantive item. Does anyone want to say any more? Right. Let's take a vote on it. All those in favour with the amendment? Okay. Excellent. Right. That's unanimous. Right. That's carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, Debbie. Right. On to the next agenda item. And this is your chance, Councillor Tucker. This is a security, Swale House, item 9, Swale House Security Contract Award. So let's go on to that. And who's going to give the introduction here? Debbie? Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So good evening. So this report it relates to the provision of security services at Swale House Reception. The current contract ends on the 30th of April. So we went through the ESPO security framework for new tenders. We received 4 compliance submissions and Company A achieved the highest overall score. So recommendation is committee approves the appointment of Company A as a supplier of security services from the 1st of May for a period of 3 years with an option to extend. Thank you.
Okay, members, who wishes to speak on this? Anyone want to? Councillor Richard Palmer.
Yeah, I'm just looking at 2.3 of the report, page 14, and it says it was assessed by a panel of 3 people, or building operations manager, senior facilities officer, housing advisor. I'd just like to know how the process works. Do they assess them individually, and then get together and say, are we roughly in tune? Or you don't sit as a committee, which I can see someone's not.
Sorry. Yeah, no, we all evaluate separately and then we come together and moderate our scores.
Brill, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Tucker.
What I asked earlier on, if you want me to say it again.
If you'd like to repeat that,
Okay.
please.
It says it's for three years and potentially a year to extend. If we're not here within 3 years, do we still have to honour the contract award, or do they get due notice, and what is that notice? And as soon as we know we're going, they will know we're going, type thing.
Yes, we can give notice up for 3 months.
3 months, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to clarify that in the recommendation, it says with the option to extend by 1 year at a value of 114,903.14 plus VAT. That's the total contract sum, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Just to be clear, it's not an annual payment. Okay. Councillor Shield and Councillor Last.
Thank you. Was the option looked at to bring this in-house again with the CCTV control staff?
It's in the report.
It is.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I think, where was that on there? I do remember reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, we did speak to the CCTV and it was the resilience and cover for holidays and sickness that they couldn't, and they did think they were only supplying security for like 10 to 12 when we were open to the public, but we have security there all day triaging the customers, homeless appointments that are in reception.
Perfect.
Yeah, it gives us a more robust coverage if people are off ill. Right, Councillor Last.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure after my last amendment that this is going to cost the council money, but where has this amount been budgeted for? Because when you work it out, it's nearly 138k, the figure that we're talking about. Has this been budgeted for in the current budget, or is this coming out of reserves or whatever?
No, this has been budgeted for, and any extra security was agreed at the budget.
So we're acting within our scope, you'll be delighted to know. Okay, members, anyone else want to ask anything? Actually, before we go any further, I'm going to move this item. Have I got a seconder? Yep, Councillor Thompson. I'll take him as a seconder. Okay, Councillor Thompson, come in.
I've got sidetracked now. I just want, do we have a sort of a score on local and ethical as such? In other words, that it's a localism thing rather than a multinational. Do we have a score on that?
Yes, we do. We do.
And I think social values and all those sorts of things, isn't it? That's all in our process.
Procurement process.
Yeah, procurement process that we're kept well clear of, but we get the delightful option of deciding out of the final list. Okay, anyone else? Yes, of course.
Sorry,
Councillor Tucker.
Very quick one. It may I can't see it. Did it? You know when we had the full council, the gentleman that was here. Is that budgeted in here, or was that just a separate thing? Was that brought in as a temporary measure until the dust settled, or?
Okay, so what's happened previously was that was a separate company. We did write into this spec the option to have more security at evening meetings, any other times we need it. So we can use the same company as will be in reception.
Okay.
As an option.
And how is that charged? Is that in addition to the contract sum? So it's based on a per hourly rate per guard, as it were?
Yes, it will be.
Right. Okay.
I just
Councillor
wanted to come back
Tucker.
on
Yeah,
that.
of course.
I missed
Come
about
back.
The last one about the ID in the public. I think I don't think you are able to challenge people's ID. I think the main issue is that as soon as someone says something or does something inappropriate or has got a face covering, I can only give the version in court, for example, in a public gallery. As soon as they mutter something out of turn, they're removed instantly. And we will retire and they're gone. That's the end of the problem before it escalates any further. And only watching what happened previously, it was allowed to go on and on. Just the same if I stood up out of turn and started shouting, I expect to be removed. It's no different.
Yeah.
That's how meetings should be conducted. So, sorry, I'm going. I've digressed.
No. Sorry, I was thinking there. So one thing might be worth noting, because I saw about the panic buttons, is there isn't one, is there, in here? We should have one in the chamber. Because at least if you're in the building, you know as a member you can access it for whatever reason if you've had to dive here to get here. But it's worth noting. Right, Joanne, do you want to come in on that?
Thank you. It feels like a sensible suggestion that we can also get costed up. But just to give reassurance, the facilities officers will know who is in the building because they oversee the signing in process. If they have got concerns about anybody, they would be alert to that for us. So we're not totally alone, but I think it's a very good suggestion. I'll get that.
So I'm just thinking the instance that, you three officers are here tonight with us, but there's no one monitoring this from outside downstairs. So if we had a problem, it would be down to one of you to get on the phone. So
they do tend to have the meeting on when they're down there, so they are watching it from the public perspective, which doesn't help us if ever we adjourn or come off camera. But
I do think we need some sort of, and so maybe if we have a standing briefing that if things seem to be getting out of hand for chairs, is that the best course of action is to immediately is to call for retirement or adjournment. And if necessary, use the panic button to alert security. Okay. Right. And that could be circulated as part of our standing advice to members, couldn't it? Thank you. Right. Okay. So slightly digressed. I've been a bit lenient here. Right. Going back to the security contract, because I think it's all wrapped up in that. But security contract, is there any more questions or any points you want to make in the debate for this item? Oh, Councillor Clark, come in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I know everything that's been said about that, and I totally agree that there should be a panic button underneath the desk where you're seated, so that the chair can, if you like, smack that and someone will be there sort of fairly promptly. There's a slight digress, if I may, Chair. Also, I think it was discussed at some point, and maybe this can go into the report that's coming back to the meeting. How do we safely exit the chamber if we're exiting the chamber to go round to conference room 3, you know, on the 3rd floor there, because members of the public can go out of the public gallery and come round to the members' entrance. So is it proposed at some point that there might be, from where the corner where the mayor's gallery is, across to the other side, there's some sort of protective barrier?
I'll let Joanne come in now.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, in the light of the incident at full council in December, we have worked on an evacuation process for members. It is going to be tested at some point in the future, not tonight, hopefully, but at some point there's going to be a live drill for that. So at the start of meetings that are potentially contentious, officers have briefed members on what that would be, and we'll continue to do so. But yeah, we'll have a test, we're promised, at some point soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, we'll get back to the security contract. Anyone, any last questions, points? No, right, let's take this to the vote. So all those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Okay, we've got item 10, which is the last item on our agenda tonight, and that is the land at Great East Hall. And I think David is going to brief us. David Johnson, who's online.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, all. If it's okay, I'll assume that the paper's been read, and I don't propose to read it all, Chair, if that's okay with you. Just to give you a brief summary, some of you will recall, hopefully, that this came to you about 12 months ago. The proposal is that the council take some land back at Great East Hall from Vistry in lieu of their Section 106 obligations. It's been rumbling on for quite some time. I think it's been exacerbated by changes on staff, and both from Vistry's point of view, from a legal perspective, and ours. And it's also a very complex problem. There's lots of issues around, even down to agreeing heads terms in terms of restrictive covenants and actually agreeing the areas involved. So we're coming back to you, unfortunately, to ask for a further extension, this time for 18 months. There has been some light at the end of the tunnel. The last few months has been constructive conversations between our legal team and Vistry's legal team, and our property officers and Vistry's officers, and the intent is still very much to complete this. So the recommendation is to allow another 18 months to resolve the outstanding title issues and complete the transfer, and then therefore expunge the Section 106 as well, the 106 variation. And you'll note that there's another recommendation, given the amount of time that has passed from the original recommendations regarding this parcel of land, that should we be successful in the transfer, that the community is engaged in after receipt of the funds to consider future uses of the land, given that it's been such a long time that community priorities might be slightly different now. So those are the very, very much in the round, the proposals. But if there's any questions on the report itself or any background detail that I can offer, happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to move this item, and if I can get a seconder, and then we'll go straight in with questions and debate. Okay, so I've got a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Pollard is my seconder. Members, I'm going to take, there's 2 ward members here tonight who I'm sure have got a view on this and probably would like to speak. So Councillor Pollard and Councillor Last. Okay. Go for it, Councillor Pollard. You're on.
Okay, so when I came onto this, it's already had a really long history. I have spent some time talking to residents, and asking, about 8 weeks ago, I asked, okay, so there's another development, there's another shop. If you get a shop there, what would you like? And the main things were a cafe, but preferably a pub, which the basics of it were that they would like somewhere to be able to gather and spend time together. I don't think anybody is more frustrated about how long this has been going on than the residents. it's one of those situations where it's kind of a little bit unbelievable. The fact that it is going to go on longer, I think that it is only fair that we agree that they get to say what is done with the land at that point.
Thank you. I hear you. And I suppose this is my question to David is, when I looked at the extension period, 18 months, it seems like an awful long time. And I understand about Vistry. And obviously you've had to pick up the reins on this at, sort of part the way through. I'd really like to put 6 months on this. Why could we not do that?
I mean, Chair, it's entirely up to members what sort of time period you put on this. I would say that from a property transactional point of view, the transaction is complicated. It's made even more so by the Section 106 agreement. And from a commercial perspective, we have very little leverage on Vistry. Our only fallback is to enforce our Section 106 agreement. The original Section 106 agreement for a play park, that would be our only negotiating tool, as it were. There's very little motivation on Vistry's side, speaking candidly, to progress this at pace. So my concern would be, by putting 6 months on the table, I'd be coming back to you in 6 months' time saying, well, there's still the same report with the same recommendation and the same other recommendation that we haven't taken forward, which is to exercise on 106, because we don't consider that to be a benefit to the community, to the council, or to anybody. So I would just worry that would just be another report. And I'm sorry to be bringing a report back tonight where it's asking for an extension, but I think the 18 months, we've done that so that hopefully we don't have to come back to you again, because we can see that things have moved on in the last 3-4 months since Christmas. There has been positive engagement. So my preference would be for the longer period of time, just so that we don't have to come back to you, and we're hopeful of getting the transaction over the line, subject to the caveat, like I just said, about our limited pressure that we can bring to bear on them. But obviously it's entirely up to yourselves. What sort of time frame you want to put on this?
Okay. I'll bring in Councillor last.
This piece of land and the problems in Great East Hall has rolled on for years and years and years. Residents in the area have been promised things and not delivered, not by necessarily this council, but by the landlord and various other agencies. Therefore, I would say, let's split the difference and say 12 months, because 18 months to me seems dangerously close to the end of the council. And will it be carried on? Will anything go beyond that? I think if things have started to move forward in the last 3 or 4 months, then let's put a year's time as a deadline to see where we're at. Because if it has moved that fast, at least in a year's time, we'll know where we're standing. We'll know the future of the council, and hopefully we can get this land for the residents.
Thank you. I hear what you say. David, in terms of the actual process for changing a Section 106, presumably this needs to go back to Planning Committee, and it would be Planning Committee would have to do that. Is that right or not?
I'll possibly not be able to speak on this fully, but I think Joanne in the room might know better than I. But I don't believe it's a committee decision. I think it's a delegated decision, given it as a variation. But like I said, I might be wrong on that. I'm no planner. But the difficulty again with this is that those processes are completely detached from one another. Contractually, we can't tie them together. So we're constantly trying to tread a very fine line between starting the process and completing the process of varying the 106, which is obviously what Vistry are very keen to have happen, and also getting on the hook contractually to transfer us the land. So it is a difficult thing for us to do, to keep those processes separate. But I think it's a delegated decision, Chair.
Okay, right. I'm going to bring Joanne in at this point.
That's absolutely right. Thank you. Yep.
Right. Okay. And so if it's a delegated decision, it can be a quicker process, presumably. Right. Okay. Councillor Marchington.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will second the 12 months rather than the 18. because this means all the financial bits and pieces and decisions will have to be taken before the end of the financial year. So next April is where they've got to get it in, because if you go past that date, you're going to add another 12 months to the first one.
Okay.
So it does push people. Thank you.
Right.
End of March 27.
March 27. Yeah. Okay. So, Councillor Last, is that an amendment you're proposing for the end of March?
Yes, again. Yes, I think we need to do 12 months to push the process on.
And if I've been quietly advised that maybe the end of March might be suitable.
That would be a useful time.
Okay, and Councillor Marchington, are you seconding that amendment? Good, right. Okay, right, we're talking to the amendment. Councillor Tucker, do you want to speak to that?
Sort of, I think.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
You all know by now I've got a little brain, and I just look at the extension of 18 months of what's been done, which is, I can't see what has been done, and I feel for the ward members and their residents. They're asking now for another 18 months with what appears to be no teeth to be able to bring people to get this sorted. So we're at 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months. Where's the Gantt chart, or where it's going to be with teeth, with legal consequences, or whatever, because otherwise it's worthless. It's people's time being wasted. So where's the teeth? Where's the actual, what's going to be done? So if we, another 12 months, what's being done tomorrow? What's being done in a month's time? Because in the last 18 months, there's nothing that's on this report that says, well, what have we done in the last 18 months? Just no one can agree, and it's just all carried on.
Okay. Joanne, do you want to pick that up? Or
I'll go to David if I can,
David,
please.
yeah, David, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. As I said, it's a very difficult one from the point of view that we have limited leverage. Our leverage will be to turn around to Vistry and say to them, do you know what, we've had enough. We're going to exercise the 106 agreement. Please undertake the works stipulated in section 106. And it's, I suppose it's a call for the committee, for the council, as to whether those works would be a benefit to us and the community. I think progress has been made recently, as I've alluded to. We've now got a travelling draft, heads of terms agreed. We have an agreed plan of which doesn't sound like it's progress, but trust me, it's progress given how long it's taken to get to this point. We have had two very successfully, progressive, I should say, meetings between officers and legal representatives for both sides. So it does feel like there is traction. As of what will happen tomorrow, we're in a process of reviewing documentation from Vistry that has been sent over, and in terms of CPSC inquiries. So again, there's progress, there is things happening, but I won't sit here and pretend to you that I can guarantee that Vistry will proceed. There's nothing to prevent them, and I'm being, I suppose, not glib, but very honest with you, there's nothing to prevent them from walking away from negotiations and disappearing for another 12 months. And unless we're willing to exercise section 106, there's nothing we can do to bring them back to the table. So it is a very, very tricky and difficult piece of transaction, should I say, to progress. So not I suppose, not being to harbouring a doom, but trying to be realistic to you, though this is the situation we're in.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tucker, and then I've got Councillor Last, Councillor Kavanagh, and then I've got Councillor Marchington after that.
As I say, Chair, thank you for that. That sort of explains it, but it doesn't really. But I mean, if the ward councillors are happy with 12 months and they think there's going to be progress, I'll be happy to support that motion of 12 months.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Last.
Just for point of information, really, and this may have been just something said in passing, but when Roger Truelove left and I was elected, he actually said to me that the contractor was offered 130,000 plus a peppercorn purchase for this land. Now we're coming up to almost 4 years. Why haven't we moved on if it's been agreed in principle with the last council? That's my thing.
I think it's because it changed from what it was going to be originally, wasn't it? With the fact it was going to be a mugger, and that's what's in the section 106. So until you can talk about things and discuss them in heads of terms, but until it's signed on the dotted line, it's difficult to hold the feet to the fire. Okay,
I just wanted to add to that. It's just showing how long it's taken to get here.
Yeah.
We need to speed this up for the residents.
I quite agree. I absolutely agree. Councillor Kavanagh.
I might be missing something here. I don't understand why there's very little leverage. I would have thought that Vistry would far rather just hand over the land than have to build a mugger. There must be a deadline within the Section 106. I know from the proposals for a school in Borden recently, because KCC doesn't want it yet, there's been a deed of variation. It seems quite straightforward. I don't understand why it's taken so long. Now, if we agree 12 months, fair enough, can we not ask for David to come back 3 months' time, 6 months' time to give us an update, as opposed to nothing until whenever we've agreed for him to come back? Thank you.
Okay, so I've got Councillor Marchington and then Councillor Pollard.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's a deed of variation, is what's listed here. Page 18, item 2.5. It mentions the draft deed of variation to the Section 106. Has been prepared by Mid-Kent Legal Services, incorporating the necessary changes as the removal of a redundant road, etc., etc. A travelling draft is under review, with minor amendments expected, including an updated site plan to clearly identify precise boundaries, site to be transferred, and avoid future issues. It says discussions with Vistry remain positive, and they have confirmed their commitment to the transfer, including the commuted sum. Now, there's a fair list of jobs to get done in 12 months, and I think they could adequately got the skills to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pollard? Okay. Back to Councillor Last with your amendment. So you've got 12 months in there. We've amended that so that's the end of March 27. Would you like to have a report back to this committee in 6 months' time as your amendment to your amendment? A verbal update.
Any potential issues that we've got to address.
Okay. Right, and whilst we're on the recommendations here, so the recommendation says that Economy and Property Committee note that the ongoing delays in completing the land transfer and agree in principle a further extension up to, and with the amendment it would say 12 months to the end of March 27, to resolve the outstanding title Section 106 variation and related matters with final approval delegated to the head of place subject to satisfactory terms. Do you want that delegated to the head of place in conjunction with the chair and ward members, 2 ward members? Yeah?
With at least the chair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't. What's the word? Not in conjunction. It's in consultation. Yeah. Okay. So that's your amendment. Yes. Just clarify. And the seconder is happy with that.
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Let's take a vote on the amendment. Okay. All those in favour? Okay. That's unanimous. Okay. Right. To the substantive item then, and when that is including recommendation 2 as well. Are we all agreed? Yep. Yep. That's unanimous. Lovely. Right, all done. That's all our items tonight. So thank you very much, members. It's 19 minutes past 8. Thank you for your time. See you at the next meeting.